Hey guys, this is Steve Huff of SteveHuffPhoto.com. I'm here today to show you guys a quick comparison from the Sony A7S with the Sony Zeiss 35 and the new Voigtlander teeny tiny collapsible 40mm f2.8 Heliar lens. This isn't a spherical lens. It collapses. Right now I have the lens hood on. If you take the lens hood off, well, first of all, there it is collapsed. If I unscrew the lens hood, you can see just how tiny that lens is. And it's a firecracker of a lens. It's actually quite beautiful. The rendering, it's smooth yet sharp, punchy color and higher contrast. And the lens is made beautiful in a beautiful way. It's got a nickel finish. It looks gorgeous. The only catch is you need this adapter. You need this adapter to use the lens. Now the funny thing is this lens is an M-mount lens. So it'll fit right onto a Leica camera, an M-mount camera, but you won't be able to focus it. There's no focusing mechanism on the lens. So you need the Voigtlander close focus adapter, and you will use this as the focus ring. So you basically, this is a Voigtlander VM to E adapter. So it's Leica M-mount to Sony E mount adapter, and you can put the lens as soon as I see what I'm doing here. You can put the lens onto the adapter, and then once it's on the adapter, this is actually how it will be mounted to the camera. So right now I have the Sony Zeiss 35 2.8, and I'm going to put this on really quick so you can see what it looks like. And then I'm going to sit down and show you guys the lenses in more detail. So there it is on the camera with the hood. You can collapse it while it's on the body, and you have a nice small little compact setup. You have a clickless aperture range, which goes from 2.8 all the way to f22. Very smooth. The lens is jewel-like. It's just like you would expect from a Voigtlander M-mount lens. It's just like a little rangefinder lens, so it's very cool. But let's take a closer look. Okay, let's first talk about the A7 here that I have. I have a new artisan and artist strap on the camera. This is a new red silk strap, except it's a little different than their older silk straps. The other ones were round, and this one is flat. And I much prefer the flat because it's more comfortable on your shoulder. And against the black Sony A7, the red strap is striking. I was out with it earlier, and another guy who was shooting with a Nikon, he came up to me and said, "What kind of strap is that? That's really cool." So this is the brand new ACAM-310, and it's a beautiful strap. It doesn't probably come across as good on video as it does in real life, but it's really cool. Another thing I have is the Artisan Obscura shutter release. Now these stick on, they don't screw on because the A7 has no way to screw one on, and I much prefer this because the screw-ons always come out and get lost. This sticks on with an adhesive, and I've used this now for 2-3 months and it has not budged. I have not lost it. I use this at least every other day. So I also have that on my Sony A7S, which gives it a nice tactile feel. Soft shutter release, we all know what they do. On the back, I have these shiny buttons here that were just sent to me, and they stick on to the back here to give a more tactile feel, and they're pretty cool. They're metal buttons made specifically for mirrorless cameras. Sony cameras, I think, is what they're geared for, and I don't know if that comes across on video so well. But they're a pretty little ingenious device. They're made of metal. They are easy to stick on. They won't come off. I mean, you can take them off, but they're not going to fall off. And it provides a more tactile feel when you're using your camera, so that's pretty cool. I'll put the web address at the bottom of the screen right now if you want to see these, where they came from, where you can order them, or more about them. The same goes for the shutter release from Artisan Obscura. I will now add that URL right at the bottom here so you can see and look at the different colors, types of wood they have. This is really a cool piece. I love this shutter release because I've had maybe 6 screw-in ones and they've all been lost, all of them. This one, stick-on that they make with their special adhesive, it won't ruin anything. You can take it off if you want, but it's not going to accidentally fall off. So I highly recommend that if you like shutter releases and you're using a Sony A7 camera. But for now, I want to show you guys this new Voigtlander lens. I'm going to take the hood off really quick if I can. It screws off. And I'm going to put it in to show you guys just how tiny that lens is. This is a 40mm f2.8 Heliar, and it's a spherical. It's a made in Japan lens from Voigtlander. Super nice quality. It's got some heft to it. It's heavier than the Sony Zeiss. Now look at the difference in size. Somebody was asking me, why would you want this lens when Sony has a 35-2.8 out? Why would you want this? Well, first of all, this lens is $400. This lens, I think, is $1,000 range right here for this lens. This lens is probably a quarter of the size as this one. And this one feels like it's a great lens, don't get me wrong. This is a great lens. The 35 Zeiss, sharp, nice bokeh, nice everything. But it feels a little plasticky and hollow. This feels like a solid metal chunk right here. This one is sharp at f2.8. This one is just as sharp at f2.8. This one has great color and character. This one has great color. The character is a little on the sterile side when you compare it to this, when you're talking about out of focus rendering and so forth. This one renders just like all the old school Voigtlanders that we're used to. Now let me pull the lens back out here. So let's make it fair, because the one quirky thing about this lens is it's an M mount lens, meaning Leica mount. But you can't put it on your Leica. You can, but you won't be able to focus, because if you notice, there's no focusing ring or focusing mechanism anywhere on the lens. So if you put it on your Leica camera, there's no way to focus it. And in order to use this lens, it's made for the Sony E mount, but they didn't make it a Sony E mount. They made it an M mount. That's where it gets a little tricky. In order to use this lens on your Sony, and many of you may already have one of these, this is a Leica M lens to E mount adapter made by Voigtlander. This is the Voigtlander VME close focus adapter. In my opinion, the best adapter made and sold today for converting Leica M mount lenses to your Sony A7 or any Sony E mount. But for full frame purposes, that's the best way to go for Leica glass, full frame. That's what it's designed for. And this lens is also a full frame lens. So we need this adapter to use this lens, because once we put it on, there we go. Once we put it on, and it's got these two little grips here to tighten it on, and our lens is all pulled out, now we have the true size of the lens. Now let's look at them side by side. And it's still at least half the size of the Sony, but now it's even more hefty. It's at least twice the weight of this, but this is a lightweight lens. So now we put this on the camera, and once we put it on the camera, this is how we focus using the adapter. So the close focus adapter is what focuses this new 40mm f2.8 Heliar. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that's a ripoff. You have to have the adapter. Yes, you do. There's a Hawks adapter out that is similar that I think you'll be able to use if you own that one. But a lot of us who have these cameras already have this adapter, or the Hawks adapter, because it allows us to use our M lenses. And what's cool about this one is you can put, say, a 50 Summicron on here and get super close focus with the lens. Usually when you're using it on a Leica, you're limited to 0.7 meters. Throw it on here and you'll get something like 0.3 meters for your minimum closest focusing distance. So let's put that back in the camera, and you can see how tiny it is when on the camera, and it looks great as well. Want to use it, plop it out, or I would just keep it out at all times. And you can put the hood back on, and there we go. It's still compact with the hood on, and it looks gorgeous. And I got to tell you, the rendering from what I've seen so far is absolutely beautiful. So if it was a choice between this for $1,000 or this for $400, if I had the adapter already, I would take this. If it was a choice between this for $1,000 and you having to buy both of these, that's $700. You're still saving some money, but you're losing out on autofocus. The Sony has the autofocus where this one does not. So then you have to ask yourself, am I the type of person who likes to go old school, take my time, look at each scene more carefully and not have to worry about focusing blazing fast? If you like to shoot Leicas, if you like to shoot old school rangefinder glass, you're going to love this lens. It's beautifully made. It feels beautiful. The aperture dial is silky smooth. It's clickless, but it's silky smooth. And focusing via the adapter is actually quite ingenious. And I recommend everybody have one of those if you're going to use Leica M glass of any kind, from Voigtlander, from Zeiss, anyone on this camera. So me, I would still choose this, but a lot of you may need the autofocus. So the only thing that this is giving you over this is autofocus. You're getting beautiful performance, just as sharp wide open as this one. You're losing half the size, and you're gaining build quality and beautiful looks. So basically all you gain from here is autofocus, yet you're losing the size, and the design is much cooler with the Voigtlander. So I'm going to have my full review up of the Voigtlander 42.8 Heliar spherical very soon. I've been shooting with it, and there's an article on my page right now, which you might be watching this video on that very page, depending on if you stumbled onto it on YouTube or on the page itself. And below this video on that page are 2 photos, one taken with this lens at wide open 2.8 and one shot with the Sony Zeiss at 2.8. And they're the full-size files from the A7S, which is an amazing camera, my #1 right here every day. And you'll be able to see that they're both equally as sharp. They both have a little bit of a different rendering and a little bit of different color. So take a look at that at stevehufphoto.com. And my copy here of the Voigtlander came from CameraQuest. Stephen Gandy has these in stock. They just came out a few days ago. $400 if you have an adapter like this already, but it has to be one of these adapters where you can focus with it. The Hawks would probably work, and the Voigtlander one is the perfect match for it. So if you have to buy both, you're looking at $700. If you only buy the lens, it's $400, which is a steal, because that's a fantastic lens and gives an old school type of flair to your Sony A7. So thanks for watching. I'll be back with a full review of this lens on my website at stevehufphoto.com. Be sure to always check back. If you like this video, thumbs up and subscribe, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you.